fall, if that, that's sort of the timeline by which the SEC has to decide. But it could be any time. It could be this week, it could be next week, it could be near term. I think all signs are pointing in the direction of a potential approval, which is pretty exciting.
A positive sign I think we saw yesterday, and this is on the Rex Osprey side of things. They went a different route, something to do with a C corporation, if I'm not mistaken, to get a Solana spot, not a spot, but a Solana ETF approved, and it has a staking component to it. What are your thoughts on that? And could other folks follow that model?
Yeah, this is really fascinating. Maybe I'll do my best to unpack it. There are two major rules in the SEC that govern ETFs. One is the 1933 Act and one is the 1940 Act.
Mm.
Typically, 1933 Act funds, which people call ETPs, are commodity.
Setup or more of the spot setup, the traditional.
Well, so the vast majority of commodity-based ETFs or ETPs are in the traditional 1933 Act grantor trust scenario. That's where the Bitcoin ETFs live. That's where the Ethereum ETFs lives. That is the classic structure. Most 1940s products are like S&P 500 funds, right? This is typically where you put securities. This C Corp approach is sort of an unusual approach for packaging commodities into an ETP through an ETF structure. It does exist. This is not the first of its kind. It's not like breaking new ground. It's just not the typical approach.
Interesting. Now, the other thing people are waiting for as it relates to altcoin ETFs is staking in the Ethereum ETFs. I know you guys have a filing. What can you tell us there? Do you think the same window of approval we might see for that as well?
Yeah, rulings underpinning this. That's actually the work that's being done. It's very sort of hard hat mechanical work on the underlying tax structure. So I wish I had all the answers for you. I don't yet because they aren't all determined, but a lot of people are making real progress.
I wonder if the SEC can do this outside of the market structure bill, or it might require, working with Congress to figure this out in the larger bill.
Oh, that's a great question. Look, I think the market structure bill will be extraordinarily helpful for the long-term structure of the crypto market. But in terms of this specific question, whether staking can exist in ETPs, my view is that that can happen within the SEC's existing jurisdiction. So I don't think we're waiting on the Clarity Act for that. I think what the Clarity Act will do is further open up and provide clarity, this institutional intermediary in-kind creation redemption, which really just makes the process more efficient and tighter.
Mm. And it would be a lot easier. I mean, everything's digital. You don't have to send the Brinks truck, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's part of why I'm attached to this vision, because it should be theoretically much easier. Of course, there are practical challenges, right? We have to really make sure we have your address right. We probably have to test it. We have to KYC. We have to do AML. There are lots of challenges involved in that, but I like to think about the ultimate destination of where we're going. If you look at Bitwise's ETF, BITB, you can see sort of indications of that we care about these things, right? We disclose our Bitcoin addresses. We donate to Bitcoin core developers. We're aligned with the philosophy of Bitcoin. Ultimately, Bitcoin's philosophy is to own it yourself.
Next ETFs 10 years from now being larger than the individual, kind of what the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100 and so forth, how they operate in the market right now.
Yeah, great question. I have a high degree of confidence that they'll be larger than all individual crypto assets, ETFs, except for maybe Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already sort of really thriving. But I think they could challenge that. If you look in traditional assets, the largest markets are indexed. You mentioned the S&P 500. The same thing is true in bonds, where the largest ETF is the AG, which is an index of bond exposure. I think most traditional investors just want exposure to crypto. They want all the pillows in your background. They won't want to pick and choose one pillow over the other. They don't have that level of expertise. Even me, working in crypto 24/7, 365, I don't have 100% product. Grayscale as an index-based product. I think if that happens, those are going to be very successful products on the market.
On the topic of companies and stocks, a lot of companies are taking the crypto treasury strategy blueprint that Michael Saylor created, some with Bitcoin, some with ETH. We're hearing some with Solana and XRP as well. Do you think ETFs will be created around these? I think there are some already, if I'm not mistaken. And do you think those are going to be successful as well?
Yeah, we created an ETF around that. The ticker is OWNB, which I really like Own Bitcoin. Sometimes you get lucky with tickers being available. It owns all the Bitcoin treasury companies that have at least 1,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Like to package stocks into ETPs to express their views. People in the tokenized market, I think, will eventually want to do that as well. The question there is, does it look like a traditional ETP, or is it some sort of auto-executing DeFi-like contract that packages different tokens together at weights and manages and maintains them? I think that's actually a really interesting direction of travel. So I think it will be interesting to see how that develops. I think the other way we could see this develop as we get more regulation and maturity is to the extent that tokenized stocks open up exposure, particularly for difficult to access or even private companies. And we're seeing a lot of interest in sort of tokenized exposure to private companies. Could you wrap some of that into a traditional ETF alongside public? I think there's a really important 30,000 foot component to this, which is for the last 15 years, traditional finance has valued crypto at zero. It said that this asset class is so risky that we will count it as valueless when it comes to being collateral for various types of loans, of which, mortgages are the most common loan that people take out. So that was the express view of the traditional industry. This asset could go to zero tomorrow. We can assign it no value, even though it's liquid.
It seems like this asset class is this black hole sucking in all of TradFi and all the traditional financial products and things like that. It's incredible.
That's exactly right. Well, money needs to be updated. I mean, that's the underlying thesis. Yeah, I was talking to this with somebody the other day as we were reviewing this idea of tokenized stocks, which is the current system is just absurd, right? We trade stocks 9:30 to 4, 5 days a week, except for on holidays. It's, July 4th is coming up. We're not going to be trading stocks.
Yeah.
Think if your email worked from 9:30 to 4 ourselves. But as we make the transition, there will be alpha opportunities, right? That's just the case. For what it's worth, I don't want to oversell this. We've seen big transitions in market infrastructure and traditional finance in the past, right? We went from on the floor trading at the New York Stock Exchange, where big football players sort of raised their hands and yelled at each other, to upstairs trading where it was algorithms and geeks dominating the market. And guess what? There was like a huge window for alpha during that transition for the people who were early to where it was going, which was digital upstairs, infrastructure, etc. So anytime you have these transitions, there is introductions of some inefficiencies and some efficiencies. There's opportunities for profit and for loss. And we'll see that here. It won't be perfectly seamless. There will be issues, sure, and it'll be painful and it'll introduce risks. Just remember that they said that about every technological evolution to the market structure. Ultimately, again, money wants to be 24/7, 365, global and frictionless. And we're going to get there. I think we're going to get there a little bit faster than many people expect. And I think if you look at the pace of announcements, right, just Robinhood just a few days ago in France, talking about 1,000 tokenized stocks. And a year ago, there was none of that discussion. I think it could happen faster than people think. And all that will benefit, for what it's worth, the underlying blockchains on which these assets move.
Oh, absolutely. Final question.
And I think we're going to get there. So I'm optimistic we'll get both. I think we'll get stable coins before the August recess, and hopefully market structure in the...
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the video.